Yeah, well, I just think we got to fight harder for the net front. You know, that's what I think. You know, and it's not that we're not there. We are. I said that after the game. We are, but I think we can be there more. And I think when we get there, I think we can have different intentions. You know, I think sometimes we get there. You know, sometimes we get there to get open versus, you know, embracing contact to own the real estate, to make the sight lines of the goaltender difficult. I think with those intentions, I feel like you go there with a different attitude, and I think we can create off of shots if we do that. You know, broken plays, let's call it that. You know, when pucks get sifted from the blue line, and there's all kinds of traffic in front. Maybe it doesn't get to the goalie. If it does, he can't see it. He might make a positional save, but he can't control the rebound. Sometimes it just hits the mass of humanity at the front of the net, and the puck lays somewhere. Defending that next play is really difficult. The conversion rates on those types of goals historically over the last few seasons have been very high as far as how goals are being scored. And we've looked at how goals are being scored in the league across the last couple of years. And that type of a goal is one of the highest conversion rates in the league. So I think we can do a better job in that aspect of it as far as manufacturing offense just by going to the net more often, more consistently, but going there with the right intentions. And I think if we do that, I think we'll create more offense.
Is that part of the thinking in moving Cuylle up to that spot?
Yes.
And did you guys suggest to Panarin to shave his head?
No.
I think I did. I think I might have asked about Cuylle in that spot, which Kreider for years was in with this team, and that has that ability from that, not just to deflect pucks, but to find the space to get, be in position. Can you describe that work in progress with Will Cuylle and what it's going to take to get him those reps and to understand that type of position?
Yeah, I think playing the net front, 5-on-5 on the power play. I think there might be an assumption that it's a non-skilled position, when in reality it's a very skilled position. There are a lot of subtleties to playing there that make some players way more effective than others. And then there's a willingness to, there's usually a cost associated with going there. You're going to pay a price physically, or, taking a cross check or a face wash or whatever it may be. So, but I think it's a much more skilled position than maybe all of us think. And so, I think Will has all the attributes to be, to be that guy. He's talented. He's got a good stick. He's big, and he's strong, and so he's hard to handle there. Deflecting pucks, getting your stick on pucks. There are guys, historically around the league that, over the years, that have been, scored a lot of goals in that area of the rink. The guy that comes to mind for me is Joe Pavelski. Nobody had a better stick than that guy, and he was around the net all the time. He scored 1 million goals. They're not highlight goals, but they all count the same. So I think that's an area where Will can help us.
You need a white stick.
I wanted to ask you, Mike, about Artemi Panarin. Just thoughts on how he's looked to you so far. It's 6 straight games without a point, but just beyond that, what are you making of this game recently?
I think he's working at it. I think he's working at it. Obviously we rely on him to produce offensively and drive offense. So, we're trying to help him work through some of the challenges. We've had him on a number of different lines. I've tried to do my best to stay out of his way offensively and allow him to do his thing. And that's just, I think I've had this conversation with you guys. My experience of coaching star players like Brett has been to offer them necessary latitude, in particular on the offensive side. So we try our best to stay out of his way there and let him do his thing. There's a reason he's as good as he is. Those types of players, they tend to think the game differently than others. That's part of why they're as good as they are. They see it and think it differently and quicker than others. And so I think although he hasn't got rewarded, I think his game is improving. You know, he's getting more looks. You know, he's had a number of really high quality looks. So he's working through it. You know, nobody cares more than him. You know, he wants to help this team, and he knows that this team relies on him to produce offensively to help us. So.
Has he had the puck on his stick enough, do you think? I mean, because I wonder, with you guys trying to establish the forecheck that lends itself to putting pucks deep, that takes it, you know, that maybe takes it out of his hands at the time. Do you think he's had it on his stick enough?
Yeah, we're not, you know, we're not telling him dump it in every time you get the puck, if that's what you're asking.
No, I'm not saying that, but
Yeah.
I just wondered if you think
We're-
he's had it enough.
Yeah, we're giving him the latitude to make the plays through the neutral zone that he needs to make. If he wants to keep it, he can keep it. You know, are we trying to play a north-south game? Yes, but by no means does that mean we're a dump and chase team. That's not what we're trying to be as a team. And so, you know, I think Brett has the latitude to make the plays when they're there. You know, what we don't want is reckless hockey, when, you know, if the plays aren't there, and then we're forcing plays and we're feeding a team's and opponent's transition game, and that's where we've got to use our, you know, we've got to make good choices and make good decisions in that area of the rink. So that's really the conversation that we have with the whole group. We want to make plays. We want to keep the puck when we can. When we can't, we've got to be willing to play behind teams and create offense different ways.
Into some of the line changes today at practice, and I guess why have you tried shifting things up a lot throughout the season?
Because we haven't had a comfort level with our production. I mean, isn't that obvious? I mean, I just feel like, you know, if we were, you know, like I said, it's not that we haven't created offense or generated opportunities. We have. We've got to find ways to score goals, and so, you know, we're trying to do everything we can as far as being proactive to try to help these guys. You know, and there's always going to be that balance of, you know, do we create balance and spread people out? Do we load the top six or the top three or whatever it may be? We've done all of the above. So, you know, we're hoping that we could settle in on something where, you know, we can create more consistent production throughout our lineup.
Does it almost have to start more with the power play, because that kind of sets the tone for the game? If you can...
Well, I think, you know, and once again, I can only draw on my own experience, but my experience of coaching the better players that tend to play on the power play, when they have success on the power play, it bleeds into their 5-on-5 game, right? They build confidence and things of that nature. When they don't have success on the power play, it bleeds into their 5-on-5 game, you know, in the opposite effect. That's just been my experience overall, and having conversations with players on different teams over the years, you know, I think there's a correlation there. I think when you can get the power play going and they're feeling it on the power play, it tends to carry over to their 5-on-5 play.
Mike,
Next one.
I did want to ask you away from the rink a little bit. I just had a long conversation with Adam Fox about, you know, his support that he's lending to the ALS community with Tackle ALS and whatnot. And I wonder, when you have players who have a personal cause like that, do you ever talk to them about it and get involved at all? Do you have any personal history with that particular disease and in family and friends?
I haven't talked to Foxy in particular about that. What I will tell you is that there is a direct influence on my family with that disease. And, you know, I have a member of my family, my wife and I, that has been diagnosed with it and is dealing with it right now, and it's extremely hard. And so it affects, you know, I think it affects a lot of people. So when it affects your family directly, you know, it takes on a whole different level from a personal standpoint. It becomes personal. That's where ALS is with my family right now. So You know, I'm sure, I haven't spoken to Foxy about it, but have I spoken to players in the past about their personal challenges? For sure.